independent murder. In 1996, reporter Veronica "Ronnie" Guerin was sitting in her car in a Dublin traffic jam, when two men on a motorcycle pulled up alongside her, shot her to death, and sped off. This gangland-style hit shocked Ireland, but no one was surprised that Guerin had been targeted. Guerin was a crime reporter for Ireland's Sunday Independent. Her column exposed the crimes of Dublin's gangster kings and drug lords, and they'd attacked her before. Shots had been fired into her home, and a stranger had once aimed a gun at her head before shooting her in the leg. Drug lord John Gilligan had punched her in the face and threatened her 6-year-old son. But attempts at intimidation only angered Guerin, who continued to expose the stories that gangsters wanted hidden. The investigation into Ronnie Guerin's murder was the largest in Ireland's history. Suspicion soon fell on John Gilligan because she pressed assault charges against him, and he told friends that he wasn't going to let her put him in jail. The results of the investigation were far from perfect, but eventually Gilligan, along with most of the men who'd conspired to kill Ronnie, were in prison either for murder or for drug trafficking. That wasn't the only change her murder brought about. Because of Guerin, Parliament created the CAB, for confiscating any assets that were acquired through criminal activity. They also instituted a witness protection program so that those who wanted to testify against mob bosses would no longer have to fear for their lives. Many career criminals fled Ireland. In 2013, the Sunday Independent wrote that CAB had cost Irish crooks €250 million. Other European countries adopted their own form of CAB, allowing even more criminals to pay the price for Guerin's murder. The Mousetrap. The world's longest-running theatrical play is a murder mystery by Agatha Christie. The Mousetrap has been running for over 60 years, and its plot is loosely based on a murder that shocked wartime Britain. In 1945, a doctor was called to a remote farm in Shropshire, England to examine a sick child. The doctor declared that the boy had been dead for hours, and a murder investigation began. Reginald and Esther Goff were foster parents to both the dead 13-year-old Dennis O'Neill, and his 11-year-old brother, Terence. Both brothers suffered from malnourishment that bordered on starvation, and both had ulcerated sores, and scars that likely came from constant blows. When the coroner determined that Dennis had died from a beating, the Gowes were arrested. At first, the Gowes' story was that the boys' injuries had come from fighting one another and that they were being treated for their ulcerated sores. But at the trial, Esther Goff admitted that Dennis was dead when she called the doctor, and that she'd neglected the boys on her husband's orders. He controlled the household, beating his wife and cruelly starving, and beating the O'Neill boys nearly every night. The jury was only able to give Esther 6 months for neglect because there was less proof against her. When Reginald was convicted of manslaughter, the public raised an outcry, and an appeals court changed the verdict to murder. The public also called for reforms, since Reginald had a violent criminal record before the two boys were even put into his care. The failure to protect Dennis and Terence became a key to the mystery in Agatha Christie's famous play. More importantly, it resulted in the Children Act of 1948, which established trained officers throughout Britain to ensure the healthy development of foster children, and protect them from mistreatment.